Hi there. So you finally decided to find out what all this internet stuff is about. You've heard the words and phrases internet, world wide web, cyberspace, information superhighway. But what is it? Where did it come from? How can I get on it? What can I get from it? How much will it cost, and is it hard to learn? Well, these are the questions we'll answer for you on this videotape. Now that you've made the plunge and bought this tape, you've taken the most important step. You've joined a group of about 30 million people all around the world who are getting wired and are interconnecting to each other using this marvelous thing called the internet. Before we show you how to get on the internet and how to surf around in cyberspace, let me explain what it all is. First of all, cyberspace in general, or the information superhighway, describes a network of tens of thousands of computers scattered all over the world. A network means they're all interconnected to each other, so that if you're using a computer over here in Chicago and someone else has some information you want on a computer over there in Paris, you can get it just by asking for it. That is the power of the information superhighway. It all started about 40 years ago when universities were doing lots of military research for the Defense Department during the Cold War. Now let's say you were working on a research project at Caltech in California. Caltech had just bought this $1 million mainframe computer, but your university had lots of research projects going on, and so you had to wait to get on the computer to do your work. Well, let's say meanwhile, way over at MIT in Massachusetts, they had extra computing power just sitting around. Well, the government wanted to make sure the work got done, so they created a network using telephone lines that connected the researchers in California with the computer in Massachusetts. The problem was every university had different kinds of computers, and they didn't always talk the same language. So the government helped create something called a standard network protocol, which was one common language that all computers could understand. And that was the beginning of the information superhighway. One universal language that enabled computers around the country and around the world to communicate. Now, what happened was the people who used these computers discovered that they could now use this gigantic worldwide network to do things they had never thought of, like sending electronic mail messages to each other, playing games, and sharing information not only about their research projects, but also about their hobbies and their other interests. The next step was for individuals like you and me who only have little inexpensive personal computers to get plugged into that big network. For that we needed a middleman of some sort, some intermediate entity that could provide a gateway or an on-ramp or access into that big network. That happened first with what are called the commercial online services like CompuServe, America Online, and Prodigy. And then with dedicated internet access providers who realized that people were willing to pay to get onto this information superhighway. The final step was the development of easy interfaces or methods for interacting with these big networks. Up until just a few years ago, you had to understand a very complicated computer programming language called Unix to do that. Then along came graphical browsers, which made navigating the information superhighway as easy as pulling down a menu on your word processor. The rest is cyber history. So I think it's a good thing you decided to learn about all this, so here we go, ready to teach you everything you need to know to get your driver's license on the information superhighway. Now, just like learning how to drive a car, before you can focus on deciding where you want to go and how you're going to get there, you have to deal with the basics of buying a car and learning how to drive it. Fortunately, this is a lot easier than driving a car. First of all, you don't need a real expensive car or computer to do this. Almost any low-cost PC will do. And driving around the information superhighway is very easy. It's automatic transmission, you won't get hurt if you crash, and you don't even have to buy insurance. So let's start off with some advice on the hardware you'll need to start on your trip.
Now, as you prepare for your journey into the online world of cyberspace, there's a small basic packing list of things you'll want to take with you. Now, first of all, you'll need a computer. You'll also need a modem or ISDN line, and you might want an extra phone line. Now, to start out with, to be more specific, you'll need a computer. You got to have a computer if you want to get online. There's several schools of thought as to what is the minimum computer you might be able to use. In truth, some of the oldest computers still around today can still get on the internet and take advantage of some of the text-based services such as email. But I think you'll probably want something a little more substantial to take advantage of some of the latest services of the internet, such as the web. You'll want a minimum of a 13-inch color monitor, and you'll probably want a spare 1 to 3 megs of RAM for your internet applications on top of whatever your system is already using. Now, then you'll also need, of course, a modem. Modems come in a couple of different flavors. Here I have an internal modem. This is an external modem, but the main job of a modem is to connect your computer to a phone line. Modems allow computers to talk to other computers over phone lines. They come in several speeds. You'll hear the numbers like 14.4, 28.8, those sorts of things. The faster you get, the more time saving you'll get. So it may look like it costs more now, but I really recommend getting the fastest you can afford because it'll translate into time savings and then dollar savings, especially if you're paying by the hour. Now, another option for connecting your computer to the internet is an ISDN line. These are special lines. ISDN stands for Integrated Services Digital Network, but a special line that the phone company provides to your house, and it gives you a direct digital connection to whatever you're connecting to, be it an online service or the internet. Those are a little bit more expensive. Right now, they're $300 to install and about $60, $70, $80 a month to maintain. So you really got to be serious. Maybe a home office might be able to justify those kinds of costs, but you really got to be serious about the time you're going to be spending on the internet to actually get one of those lines. Now, last but not least, you're probably going to want an extra phone line. If you are like me and spend any amount of time online, you'll wind up tying up your family phone line, and people can't call out or call in while you're online. So it might be a small extra cost, but it's definitely something worth considering, getting an extra phone line so you can stay online all you want and still make phone calls. Back to you, Stuart.
Now that you know how to drive your car or your computer, I want to give you some directions on how to get where you're going. There are lots of different ways you can get to your destination, and we're going to cover the three main on-ramps to the information superhighway. Number one, if you already own a computer, it probably came with some preloaded software to get you onto some of the commercial online services. Prodigy, CompuServe, America Online, or the Microsoft Network. Any one of those services will provide you with a very easy on-ramp to the information superhighway. Number two, you can get plugged into cyberspace simply by going down to your local bookstore and buying a book on the internet. Most of them come with software that lets you immediately select a direct access provider and get online within a matter of minutes. Third, if your company or college has a computer network, odds are you can get into cyberspace using their network. So let's take a look now at some of your options for getting out there in cyberspace.
Now, if you're new to computers or to the idea of the online world, you might want to check out an online service before you actually sign up for a direct connection to the internet. Now, some of the online services, I'm sure you've heard some of these names, are America Online, Prodigy, CompuServe, MSN, the Microsoft Network, and eWorld. Now, all of these different services are aimed towards different types of users, so they have different styles, different looks, graphical looks, and they offer different content and different information. For instance, America Online and Prodigy are aimed towards family users, whereas CompuServe is more geared towards high-end computer users and business users. They all have similar cost structures. They'll generally charge you a basic monthly fee, which will allow you a certain amount of time. Then above and beyond that amount of time, they'll charge you an hourly rate. You want to be very careful to pay close attention to this price structure for the actual online service you sign up for, because you may think you're going to only pay $10 a month. Then you wind up using a lot of time. You wind up paying close to $90 or $100 a month. Now, signing up is easy. All you do is find one of their ads in a magazine, dial their 800 number, and they will actually send software to your house. You then install that software on your Mac or PC, make sure your modem is connected, and then you can click Sign On. They will walk you through a sign-up process where you give them your credit card number, because that's how they're going to bill you each month. Now, just to give you an idea of what an online service has, I'll show you America Online here. Now, we've got a number of categories here, each grouped nicely. They've all got some fancy graphics to actually show you what each one is. For instance, today's news, personal finance. Here's a reference desk. And one of my favorite uses of an online service, you'll notice up here in the right-hand corner, there's a little mailbox blinking up there. That tells me I've got email. Now, I can go to the post office here to retrieve that email, read it, find out who it's from. It could be coming from somebody on America Online or somebody from out on the internet. Another useful thing that some online services do, for instance, here on America Online, we've got the internet connection. You can kind of think of this as training wheels for the internet. Not to be insulted, but just to give you an idea how to use the internet. We've got groups here. For instance, here's a button for the World Wide Web. You can go use the web through America Online this way. We've got an icon here for FTP, for downloading files off the internet. We've also got news groups. We can read and participate in any one of the 7,000 news groups that exist. And then we've got a couple of search engines here Gopher, and Waze. Now these will give you sort of a filtered version of the internet, but you'll actually be traveling through America Online onto the internet, and you can use some of these services. One of the great things about initially starting here is that you've got help online that can teach you how to use these services. For instance, here's a help guide for beginners for using the web. You can click here and actually be walked through how to use the web. There's help for each one of these sections, and they'll give you an idea what to expect and how to use these services when you actually get a direct connection. Let's talk a little bit now about direct connections to the internet. Now, direct connections differ from online services in a couple of ways. With an online service, if you want to connect to the internet, you're going through that online service. You're not directly connected. Thus, the internet is being filtered before it gets to you. With a direct connection, as the name implies, you're getting a connection directly to the internet, and your computer actually becomes a node on the internet. Now, what this means for you in terms of benefits is that you get faster throughput, and you can choose the software you want to use to drive and navigate the internet, as opposed to having to use the software that the online service dictates. Now, if you want a direct connection, you're going to have to find an ISP. That's an Internet Service Provider. Now, this is going to require a little bit of research on your part, but there are a lot of places where you can look to find ISPs in your area. First of all, check magazines, local newspapers, and listen to local radio, because you'll find advertisements all over those media for local Internet Service Providers. Next off, check with friends who may be on the internet. There's a good chance they have an Internet Service Provider that they might could put you in touch with. Also, there are boxes of software, shareware, that you can buy off the shelf, which have direct connections to Internet Service Providers. Make sure you get the one for your particular platform if you're going to go that route. But also, look in the back of Internet books that you might find on the bookshelf at the bookstore. There are listings of Internet Service Providers from all over the country. You may even find a couple in your area. Now, once you find an Internet Service Provider, you're going to want to call and ask them a number of questions before you sign up with them. First of all, are they familiar with your type of machine? Whether you use a Mac or a PC can make a difference in how you make it talk to the internet. And it's nice to know that your particular Internet Service Provider is familiar with the issues surrounding your particular machine. So ask them those types of questions. Also, ask them about pricing. Pricing happens in one of two ways. Either a time-based fee, similar to online services, where you have a certain amount of time for a certain amount of dollars, or a flat monthly fee where you have unlimited time for a few more dollars. Now, you may feel like you're getting a better deal with the time-based rate, but really, I recommend getting the flat monthly rate if you can. Now, last but not least, you'll need some shareware, some software to actually help you navigate the internet. You can find that in any number of places. You can find it in the back of books. You can find them at users groups. Also, your Internet Service Provider may actually have a bundle of shareware that they can sell to you. Also, check with your Internet Service Provider to see if they can send someone to your house. It may be an extra fee, but they may be able to come and get your computer configured exactly the way you need it. Now, there's a good chance that your workplace may be connected to the internet, and if so, you may be able to connect to the internet through them, either from your computer at work or from home. Contact your network administrator and find out if you are in fact eligible. Also, if you're a student or have some affiliation with an institution of higher learning, there's a good chance you can connect through them. Talk to the computing department in that case. Now, there are some cases, they're rare right now, but they're going to become more common as time goes by. Check with the public library. There's a good chance you can go into the library and connect to the internet there. And also, there are some sort of cyber coffee shops that will allow you to pay as you go and get on the internet there.
Okay, so now you know what computer hardware and software you need, and you know how to gain access to the online world. But like with any highway system, it's easy to get lost, and it's often hard to find the place you're looking for. Next, we want to focus on how to avoid making a wrong turn and wasting time and wasting money while you explore this new information superhighway. This is really the fun part and the easy part. So let's show you how to get into the different parts of cyberspace.
Now, if you're going to navigate the internet, it's important to understand what the internet is. The internet is a collection of services. A lot of people will tell you that the World Wide Web is the internet, but in fact it's not. It's just one of the services that's carried on the internet, as is email. Other services include newsgroups, FTP, Gopher, and Waze, like the things we saw earlier. And in all cases, you will need a particular piece of software called a client to access those services. So, for example, if you want to access the email service, you'll need an email client. Here I've got an email client called Claris Emailer. And right here, this is my inbox. This is listing a number of messages that have come in to me. I can double-click on any one of them to read it. And if I want to, I can actually respond or reply to that particular one. Now, if you're going to send anybody a message, you need to know their address. So I'm going to click New and type in somebody's name, and my address book is going to fill in that person's address. Now let's talk about how an address actually works. An address is in several pieces. The first part is the person's username. That's the J. Smith here at the front. Then you've got an @ symbol, which divides the address. And then after the @ symbol is the domain where that user's account is located. Now, after the final dot, you will see a little 3-letter suffix, usually .com, .edu. Those indicate what root domain the company or institution is in. So if it's .com, that means it's a commercial enterprise. If it's .edu, that means it's an educational institution. Sometimes you see .org, a nonprofit organization. Now, that is an address. There are addresses that are about all the different services on the internet. They are called URLs. Those will identify what type of address it is at the very beginning. You may have seen http://. That means it's a web address. So anything after that indicates what website that particular address goes to. So let me call up a web client. Here we've got Netscape. A lot of people refer to these as browsers. One of the things you'll notice right away is that the World Wide Web has graphics. Not only graphics, but buttons as well all over the place. And those buttons can link you to other pages. So we could go forward and actually, for instance, here I am at the Internet Underground Music Archive. I can go find out about all sorts of underground music, folk music in this case, find out about bands. And anytime you've got colored text, this means it's a link to somewhere. I'll click on that, and now it's going to link me to somewhere else on that site. And that site may be, that link may go somewhere on that site, or it may go somewhere on the other side of the world. Now also, as you join the internet, it's important to realize that there will be some slang involved. Most communities have their own lingo, and the internet is a big non-exception to that. It's got plenty of its own slang. One of the ones you might hear immediately is newbie. That's the internet equivalent of a freshman. So you can kind of think of joining the internet as going to high school for the first time. But as with high school, the solution is just to be yourself. You'll learn how things work around there. You won't be a newbie for long. Just be yourself and everything will be all right. Once you're on the internet, where do you go? It sounds like a loaded question, but the thing is, you've probably heard of all the good news groups, games, online shopping, all that kind of good stuff that's out there on the internet. But how do you get there? How do you find these things? Well, unlike an online service, there's not a lot of hand-holding on the internet. You're pretty much on your own. Fortunately, there are some good sources for addresses and locations of these cool services on the internet. First of all, check books. There are lots of books that categorize and break down and give you the addresses for all these different types of services. Next, watch the articles you read in newspapers and magazines. Frequently, they will list internet addresses as well that will be relevant to that particular article. And last but not least, check with friends, your email acquaintances or friends you have in town. A lot of them may know some cool places to go on the internet. Now, the rest of what you find on the internet is going to be a result of your own exploration. And I think a great place to start that exploration is at a website called Yahoo. So you got to go into your web client, in this case, again, Netscape, and type in this particular address. You go to www.yahoo.com. When you get there, this is sort of like a catalog of all the cool things there are on the internet. You'll see that the different things are broken down into categories: arts, business, computers. Any one of these things is a link. I could go to entertainment. I click on entertainment, and that goes to a link of even further subcategories. And at any one of these places, eventually I will find a link to a website that is about the topic I'm interested in. Last but not least, if you have Netscape, you will notice that there's a little button here called Net Search. So if Yahoo doesn't turn up what you're looking for, you can click on Net Search, and you can actually go to their site. This is Netscape's home site, and you can type in a word to search for. I'll go over here to this particular little form area, and I can type in dogs if I'm interested in finding information about pets, and hit search. And what that will do is turn up all sorts of examples, links to news groups and websites that have to do with the word I searched on, in this case, dogs. Now that's one way to find information, whether it's a website or a news group that you may be interested in, but soon you'll be finding your way around and you'll start to actually find files, whether they're graphics, video, something like that, that you want to download to your computer. In order to do that, you'll need an FTP client, the software that resides on your computer that will let you download these files. Now, in this case, we're using Netscape because it has a built-in FTP client. If we're scrolling around, in these particular cases, these little blue links here represent programs we can download. And I want to download this particular weather program. So I click right on it, and then it begins downloading that file in the background. The only indication we have of that is down here in the status bar that says that there's a certain percentage of it is done. But when it finally reaches 100% and says it's done, then we will find that that file actually now resides on our computer. Now we can go, there are other FTP clients that all they do is download files. In this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and show you Anarchy. This is a program which has links already listed to a lot of different places, and you can double click on any one of those to go straight into it. In this particular case, why don't I go to this particular site? I double click on that, and what this is going to do is it's going to take me to their computer there and show me some of the files that they have publicly available. And if I'm interested in any of them, then I can download them to my computer. Kind of think of this as scrolling around through other people's hard drives, things that they've made publicly available. You're not snooping or anything, but anything that you find useful, you can actually download. So again, we're seeing little folders over here, but these represent directories on other people's computers. Now I could download this file right now if I wanted to. I'm not going to, but the files could be anything, literally any type of file that you can have on a computer. It could be audio, it could be video, and it could be an actual game. It could be any type of program that you might want to run. But if it is, in fact, one particular type of media like audio or video, make sure you have a program on your computer that knows how to play that particular type of data. Now, sooner or later, one of the things you're going to run into on the internet is a home page. You've probably heard of home pages. What are home pages? Well, they are personal pages put up by individuals that use the internet that tell about themselves. And because they're on the web, they can include pictures, they can include information, and they can include links. You'll probably find them as you navigate around, but if you actually want to find one purposefully, you can do a search on home pages. But at some point, you're probably going to want to make your own. At that point, you could put a picture of yourself, your dog, your car, anything you want to put a picture of, and also information about yourself. But in order to do that, you're going to need to learn a little bit about HTML. HTML is the language of the web, the hypertext markup language, and it tells web browsers how to display information. There are lots of books about HTML that are good, but there are also shareware programs that exist that will help you create your own home pages without actually coding in HTML. They do that part for you. And if you're really serious about learning HTML and creating your own web pages, you might want to take a class. Community colleges often offer classes in HTML. One way or another, you'll probably eventually want to put up your homepage because it's fun, you can tell the world about yourself, and share with them your favorite links.
Now, that wasn't so bad, was it? If you're still a bit confused on any of this, hey, just rewind the tape and watch that section again. But don't just stop here. Now that you have some of the skills, use them. You'll find yourself wondering how you ever got along without access to the information superhighway. Cyberspace opens up a whole new world for you, and it's going to get more exciting in the months and years ahead. New three-dimensional interfaces are coming. More multimedia is coming with video and music, and internet sites will soon become alive with virtual characters, interactivity, and intelligent agents, enabling you to do things you could never have done before. And once we get past the limits of today's telephone lines with faster connections like your TV cable wire, ISDN, or fiber optics, the power of cyberspace will grow faster than you can imagine. So congratulations, you've completed your basic driver's ed course for the Information Superhighway. You're now ready to get behind the wheel, so have a great time. For Giles Bateman, I'm Stuart Chaffee. Thanks a lot for joining us.